news cycle has a short attention span, but I think it's important we keep talking about Grenfell, keep asking questions and keep those responsible on the hook. But for now, moving on from the Grenfell Tower tragedy, as Kensington and Chelsea Council wish everyone would, let's go back to those DUP pricks. For many people, the £1 billion deal with the DUP epitomises the death of hope in our political system. But is hope really dead? Yes. Don't get me wrong, the Democratic Unionist Party and I share many of the same interests and concerns: religion, sodomy, money, and telling women what to do with their bodies. During the election, Tim Farron, much to his credit, brought sodomy kicking and screaming back into modern political discourse. But it's the DUP which has really put sodomy back on the table, where it belongs. This is the 21st century, after all. It's entirely appropriate that we are still obsessing about 4,000-year-old moral codes. It's all very well humans faffing about building quantum computers and colonising Mars. We need to be thinking about what we put in our bottoms. Of course, the DUP and I have a very slight, almost imperceptible difference in our view of sodomy. The DUP hates sodomy, whereas I fucking love it. For me, it's like eating a really hot curry. You know you're going to end up with a burning arsehole. But what else are you going to spend 20 quid on a Friday night? Thanks to Benjamin! Now, Brexit will be Christmas for racists. People said after the Brexit vote that British people don't trust experts anymore. I don't think that that's the problem. I think the problem is that British people have strong opinions based on fuck all. And while there are a lot of perfectly valid reasons to want to leave the EU, the people who were most empowered by the result were, let's be honest, racists. I certainly hope it isn't a hard Brexit, because if it's a hard Brexit, that means I've got 2 years left to persuade a Lithuanian care worker to take my mum with her. I honestly think Britain is so racist now, and probably Europe's so racist as well, that the best hope for refugees, sadly, is that they become aquatic. That they actually develop gills and start to live in the sea. Hipsters will take a gap year to go and swim with the refugees. Have you swum with the refugees yet? It's absolutely magical. You can feed them fish, but it's better if you teach them how to fish. Joining us to discuss what Brexit really means, please welcome Dane Baptiste. You a fan of Brexit? You worried?
I kind of feel like, as a black guy in the UK, post-Brexit, it's kind of like being like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. So you told everybody it was going to happen, and that when these dinosaurs were reintroduced to the ecosystem, we'd have a shitstorm. Everyone was like, nah, you're being an alarmist. And now everyone's like, oh my God, England is so racist. And then I have to be like, no, are you serious? So I'm not massively worried, apart from not having an E111 card, which gets you like free healthcare on the continent, considering like most people enjoy going to the Mediterranean and writing off mopeds.
There's also the thing this week, isn't there? We're debating the rights of EU nationals who live in Britain as opposed to like British expats. But are we really going to give up French surgeons and stuff so we can get people who are on the run in Malaga? People whose skill set is basically karaoke and running a sports bar into bankruptcy.
And it's normally an Irish sports bar as well, which is very ironic considering, like, historically in the UK, black people are like Man United. We've consistently been public enemy #1. Then the Irish and the Jews are kind of like Liverpool. They had like an illustrious history, but it's not as good as it used to be. And people from the Muslim community, like Arabs and Asians, are now kind of like Man City, in that in the last decade they've done real well. It's mainly due to oil money, so But we're still probably enemy number one.
Christmas over racist. It depends if you have a nice family. I hate Christmas.
I got a terrible family as well. Christmas for racists is just Christmas. You're right.
I've always found family to be overrated. You know the thing you get in menus and it goes family-run restaurant. You think, who cares? You're sitting there going, I hope everybody involved in the chain that brings this lasagna to my table is locked in a bitter dispute about their niece's abortion. Anyway, last week saw the Brexit negotiations finally begin, with May no longer supported by a Conservative majority. But are the negotiations going well or badly? Let's see if we can guess from Theresa May's body language as she was filmed exiting the first round of talks.
That looks like the end of first dates when the guy's like, I'd like to see you best friends. That's what it looks like.
Maybe that's an act. Maybe she gets into the car and sticks on Magic FM and it's like, it's gonna be a lovely day. So, with David Davis and his crack team of negotiators, we should be getting our message across to the EU. Here's President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, giving a concise update on how things are going.
Mr. Juncker, are you getting a clearer idea of the kind of Brexit that the UK government wants?
No.
None of us know what's going on with anything. Like, I have a mobile phone contract that's 89 pages long. I don't know how much of my soul is owned by EE. We don't know anything about anything. Why should Brexit be any different?
Yeah, it's true.
So, multiple election loser Nigel Farage is, in any situation, always keen to paint himself as the real victim. When anti-Brexit activist Gina Miller forced the government to hold a vote on Article 50, she received a torrent of racist abuse. Here we can see a sceptical Farage question her claims.
She said earlier today that she'd received abuse. What she'd done is because she's black. That's why. Yeah, it says it all, doesn't it? So, says it all. And yet that gets broadcast. And again, we're all meant to think that's true. Can you imagine the media portraying a story that I've been unfairly treated because of who I am? You know, I do a press conference, I went to a public school and I'm white, and that's why they're being beastly to me. Do you think they'd run that?
I do feel sympathy for elites, though, because you think about them like getting sent away to boarding school and they get brought up in these kind of labyrinths of mahogany panelling that they have to navigate using a dinner gong. That's what that's for, you know, so they can find their family. That's why they all end up working in Westminster, because they're like subliminally attached to the noise of Big Ben. Bong! Mother!
At one point, they had a black UKIP member, which we know is an oxymoron. I guess it's because, you know, when they are dealing with accusations of racism, people are like, we're not racist, I've got a black friend.
I always wondered about that. You know, like you get those like, there's always like a black guy in the BNP, or you think, what are you doing with your life? What, putting dog shit through your own letterbox?
That's always been a very ironic tactic used by racists of putting shit through people's letterbox, because obviously they'll be like, well, we got to get them. They're like, monkeys. How do we show them they're monkeys? We'll shit in our hands and then throw it. At some point, there's no one to say, look, white power and everything, but I'm carrying your shit.
Now, Channel 4 were also keen to investigate the complex issues surrounding Brexit in the only way they knew how, by recommissioning Wife Swap, as this eye-opening clip shows.
We need to shut our borders to the EU as well, to stop people coming over here that are not actually contributing to the country. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but if it just keep one argument because the people here didn't come in because of the EU.
No, I'm not saying they have. So you've got facts, I haven't. You've got all your statistics, I don't. I'm not particularly minded as you are. Right, so this is like coming from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah? I feel like I'm a stranger in my own country. There's like used to be a really good white area here, didn't it?
Where has everybody been? They've been saying this for years. Like, basically, racism is like grime. It went underground like the early 2000s for a bit, and then the real fans stuck with it online, and now it's back in fashion again. Everyone's like, yeah, I was always racist. I'm back. All right.
So there are people, and and sometimes it feels, I'm a white person, right? I'll admit it. And so I want to be really...
About time, Sarah.
So I'm always really wary of trying to find positives in things that I'm not necessarily my place to make a proper judgment about. And there are people that say, racism has always been there, it's insidious now at least. If people are more vocal, we can talk to them more, we can communicate better, we can deal with those areas. But is that another way of white people excusing going on now they're on telly again?
No, because I think most people have kind of can agree with this, is that we've gotten to the point where we've evolved past just relying on racial rhetoric and verbal racism. Like, we have a radar now. Like, I've done gigs where often someone's been like, oh, mate, can I buy you a drink? I've got a mate, he's coloured. Now, some people may find that uncomfortable, but this is someone offering to buy me a drink. Whereas, if I go to a nightclub and they say it's not your night tonight, that's a lot more racist.
Yeah.
We've gotten to the point now where I can tell by a look.
What's the look?
Now, when it comes to Brexit, many will have voted for it with the best intentions, but at the same time, we have to be honest about what it's delivered. All sorts of nasty political parties have felt more legitimised. Britain First is a far-right movement created by former members of the BNP. Take a look at this baffling rant from their leader, Paul Golding.
I see halal slaughterhouses. I can't even go out and get a dish of my favourite food. I can't go out and get chicken tikka masala now because every single takeaway restaurant serves halal meat, and I will not eat halal meat because it funds terrorism.
He's basically saying he wants the animals' heats to be killed with a bolt gun, as God intended.
I like the idea that when they get the money from the chicken tikka, so, oh, that's £8, please, or should we put it towards terrorism? No, because they weren't halal chickens. Put it in the till, it was a system.
So, the BNP also try, but often fail, to present themselves as morally sound individuals, as a dumbfounded Joe Coburn discovered on the Daily Politics show whilst questioning their leader, Adam Walker.
One of your policies is implement zero tolerance for drug dealers and violent thugs. Yet you were given a 6-month suspended sentence in 2012 after verbally abusing 3 young school children, chasing them in your 4x4 and then slashing the tyres of their bikes with a sheath knife. And you were a school teacher at the time.
Yeah.
If that's not thuggish behaviour, then what is?
It was described as the judge as a rush of blood to the head, and I apologise for that at the time.
He was sort of like a more likeable John Terry.
Maybe more teachers should be chasing pupils in 4x4s, right?
It depends what he was teaching. If it was maybe PE, then I guess that's a kind of
Yeah,
okay.
just
Like, you lot got to run, we don't feel like it, we'll see about it. That makes more sense. But if he was doing, like, you know, food tech, then... And what you do, you get your curry... Is that halal chicken in your curry?
So, yes, Brexit will be Christmas for racists. A proper Christmas where all the shops are shut, because there aren't any Muslims who don't care about Christmas to work in them. But it will be a bittersweet Christmas. Santa will need a visa, so instead all your presents will be hand-delivered, thrown through your window by a red-faced Tommy Robinson, who had planned to spend the 24th of December trying to find a non-halal turkey. Norway will no longer give us a big Christmas tree to put up in Trafalgar Square. In its place, we will simply drape tinsel round a giant pile of homeless people, like a festive special of I, Daniel Blake. Of course, Theresa May has made a mess of Brexit negotiations. She's dealing with them with all the finesse of a demented pensioner haggling with an antiques expert on an episode of Cash in the Attic. Even Ed Balls was quoted this week as saying, Theresa May has lost all credibility. This from a man who wore a chiffon glitter pantsuit while straddling a Russian woman's face to Gangnam Style on national TV, and then danced like a wardrobe having a brain hemorrhage. Well, that's the end of the show. Thanks to my guests, Sarah Pascoe, Catherine Ryan, Benjamin Zephaniah and Dane Baptiste.